Hello there, Carpologists. I'm Joe, and today you join me for the second episode of Carpology Carpool. And today I'm picking up Rob Hughes, and we're going to go for a drive around and find out a bit more about him. Hello, Rob.
Hello. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Cool. Right. What?
You have got big hair, haven't you?
So to most of our readers and Carpologists, you'll be most well known for being Mr. Below the Surface.
Yep.
Over your years of doing it, who has stood out for good or bad reason? What's been sort of the most eye-opening experience you've had?
There's two guys that immediately stand out as being really, really good. One of them was Ian McMillan, who, as far as his casting was concerned, we were on Horseshoe, and I remember describing him as a darts player. He was so precise with his casting, it was unbelievable. Yeah. The other one that is a real standout for me was Dave Levy, and his understanding of what the bottom was like was incredible. Get people to draw a map, both a plan view and like a 3D view of what it was. I drew mine, he drew his, and if you'd have put the two of them together, you'd have thought they'd have traced each other. Yeah. It was absolutely incredible. So Dave Levy was really, really good. As far as bad ones are concerned, I'll raise one lad who I've got to say catches a lot of fish first and foremost, and he actually caught on a feature. He caught a couple of fish on a feature and he did really well, but almost everything he thought was happening wasn't. That was Jed Ken.
Is there anything that's names aside that has shocked you, like why you've seen whilst you've been under?
The majority of people's indication is absolutely shite. Yeah. And you know, there's this thing about slacklining. What a complete and utter load of pants. Slackline when you should slackline, not all the time. Yeah. You know, and there are times when you can really, really make slacklining work for you, and there's other times where it's just terrible.
Any examples in particular?
Well, let's use an example. Let's say you're fishing 70 yards out, and there's a big bank of weed in between you. And what people do is they cast out, they fill the lead down, and then they put the rod down and peel a load of line off. And what's happening is that the line is tight from the top of the hedge to the lead.
And slack between the weed and them.
Yeah, and slack between you and them. And then what they do is, because it's slack between you and them, what they do is they then feed a load more off so they can have really trendy carpy coils. Yeah. And then the bobbin's on the deck, and the fish has got to move 300 miles before before you get an indication.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to stick a bit of music on for a second.
Go for it.
Feel free to sing along if you do the words.
Baby, I just wanna fly, wanna live and don't wanna die. Maybe I just wanna breathe. Maybe I just don't believe. Maybe you're the same as me. We see things we'll never see. You and I, we're gonna live forever.
That's always our bit.
The high bit.
The high bit.
So fairly recently you've just got back from the World Carp Championships. Other than your own performance, what teams really stood out to you, and why, and how did they differ from how England?
Ukraine were amazing. If you look at the history of the World Championships over recent years, and I'll say the last probably 3-4 years, there's a number of standout teams. Yeah. I would say the standout team at the moment is probably, I think probably Romania. They have been on the podium a couple of times in the last few years. They're very, very consistent. France are immensely good. They've had a couple of fourths and a bronze. We're up there as well, Croatia. And I would say Serbia, they're probably just breaking into that area now. So the majority of the time there are 5 head and shoulders teams. Yeah. And then there'll be a surprise. And last year the surprise, I suppose, and it's no disrespect to the countries, but last year the surprise was Lithuania, who did immensely well. They very, very nearly won it. Yeah. They got beaten in the last hour. This year it was Ukraine. And Ukraine, the performance they put in this year was so far ahead of everyone else's that even if we'd have pulled our A game out, I still don't think we'd have beaten them. Yeah. But yeah, hats off to Ukraine, they were immense. Absolutely superb. So this used to be my favourite place in the whole world, because that there used to be the dive shop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've been here before actually.
That there is the tackle shop.
Isn't this which had the world record koi in?
That's the one that had the world record koi in there as well.
Yeah.
So you could go and look at fish, you could talk about fish, I could get my dive kit, and actually there was a rather strange club that had some funny ladies in it over there.
Right, so you've got your maggots
all sorted.
The tackle company in Melksham. And while we're in there, he wanted to get in on the questions, so I'm going to quick fire some questions he's given me, and you've got to answer them truthfully.
Okay.
So first question from the British Carp team: whose missus would you sleep with, and who would you not?
Really?
Yes, that's his question, not mine.
You're turning the engine off to make sure you get the audio.
Make sure we get very clear audio on this.
Right, let's have a look at this then. Well, clearly none of them, but actually for the purposes of the question, all of them.
Of course.
And then I'm not.
I'm
not upsetting any of them. Sorry.
Straight down the middle.
Yeah.
Answer. All right. Who is the best person for a great? So say if you go into Ibiza.
Yep.
Who would you take and who would you deliberately not take? And reasons.
Right. Okay. I definitely would not take Tanya and Miranda, because they would just get me in so much trouble. It's ridiculous. And I probably would take Kev Hewitt primarily because he wouldn't get me in any trouble at all. So
you're sounding very much like a happily married man with these answers.
Yeah, it's rather strange that, isn't it?
Snog, marry, avoid.
Oh.
Miranda Brown.
Right.
Bev Clifford. And Katie Watkins.
Oh, I'd avoid all of them.
You can't keep
I'd
saying
avoid a lot of them. I'd avoid the lot. I can't keep. Why not? Happily married man answer.
Fine.
Baby, I don't really wanna know how you got it gross. I just wanna fly. Lately, did you ever feel the pain when the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone?
So before we got to Tag Shop, we were talking quite in depth about the World Champs and the England team. You became sort of the head coach, as it were, of the team a few years back, and it went from being a bit of a joke team to winning in your first year of managing it. So how on earth did that come about, and what did you do to change it all?
That's a big question. What do you do? I think the first thing is that we needed to get a little bit of respect and dignity back for Team England, really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it wasn't. Well, I don't know how it was run before, so I'm not going to comment on that. I think I have a bit of an analytical way of doing things, and I think what you do is you look for the simple solution first. So I have something called a flow chart of failure, which sounds very negative, but it's actually not. It's really positive. I know that I can do whatever it is that you're asking me to do, but there are certain things that will make it harder. So it isn't a question of can I do it, it's a case of, well, of course we can do it. What we've got to do is what's getting in the way, that's it. So I look at my flow chart of failure and work out what are the things that will make doing it harder, and then get them out of the way. So for example, if you need to be able to fish at 180 metres plus, then you get people who can fish at 180 metres plus. So that's the starting point. I think the other thing was that never underestimate anybody at all, because you never know, and it's very easy to turn around and go, oh, Johnny Foreigner's not very good. You know what, Johnny Foreigner is very, very good. They've proved they're very, very good for a long, long time. So the first thing was understanding how the rules work, and understanding that actually you don't necessarily need to go out and try and win everything. You've just got to place highest to get the best point score. So let's take team tactics in Formula One as a prime example. We sometimes have to apply those. Everybody wants to go off, knock the plastic off the ball and be the winning goal scorer. But I might not need that. What I might need is somebody just to play for a third in section, because if they can get a third in section, that's enough. So if you're lying third but second is a long way ahead, you don't want people to chase off. You need them to hold their position rather than go off and go ahead. And the one thing that I've seen through my time of doing this, 3 years now, is it's very much a managers and tactical game. When you've got individual pairs that are going out for individual glory, great. They can do what they want, and the individual anglers will normally succeed, primarily because they're good anglers, but probably slightly more so because the peg that they're in is a good peg. Whereas you don't have that luck in the World Championships, because you don't get 3 flyers. You might have 1 flyer, but the other 2 aren't. And normally if you get a flyer, you'll get a duffer. And the second thing is just never, ever, 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 and I'll stick another ever in there, so I'm not right down the middle of the road, ever give up. Because if you give up, you've had it. In that first year was a real interesting one for me, because obviously first time I'd done it, clean sweep through the team, let's start again. Bought 2 of the guys that have been in before, which is Billy and Jamie, because they'd got experience, and then bought new players in, developed a team strategy, and almost computerised it. We would work out who's casting what bait out, they'd record the time. If they had a bite, they'd record the time. Whatever fish it was, they'd record it. What bait it was, they'd record it. Every single thing they would record. And we would effectively input all that into our own little program and work out the patterns. And you can find out that actually if you use a PVA bag with oil in it, you'll get a bite between 50 minutes and 67 minutes.
Yeah.
So you know that you're probably going to get a bite. So you don't fiddle with it until 50 minutes, or well, 67 minutes really. If you get to 70 minutes, you know that it's probably duffed out and you need to change it again.
Yeah.
It's pattern spotting. That's what it is. You get lots of people doing things. So we start out and practice freestyling for the first 24 hours, and then we narrow down, and then we narrow down again until we've got a really tight game plan.
So you've run the British Carp Championships for many, many years. Have you ever had to disqualify anyone or had disciplinary in any way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first year, I almost wanted to, so we could effectively make an example that it was a serious event. Nobody put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
And I used to wander around in the middle of the night looking for somebody doing things wrong, and nobody ever did.
Yeah.
The second year they started to stretch the legs a little bit. I remember Scaffold John, one of Kev Knight's mainline mates. He was looking round up at Wireside, couldn't see me anywhere. I was on my push bike hiding in some trees, and he ran up. It was Sunday morning. He ran up to the woods just round the corner from where he was fishing, piled a load of bait in, and legged it back again.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to do all your baiting up from your peg.
Yeah.
So I've gone steaming back. They've seen me coming. I've heard he's coming. They've legged it back in again. I've gone into the peg, and Scaff is back in there, huffing and puffing on his bucket.
Yeah.
It's like, what on earth are you doing? He's like, what? What are you talking about? Denied it completely. And I said, I'm going to have to yellow card you for it. And his mate went, told you. And he went, oh, thank God for that. Thought it was a red card, so they took a calculated risk on the last morning, knowing that it was a yellow card offence. I had to disqualify one bloke who turned up late, which was a bit embarrassing because he was one of the sponsors guys.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I won't embarrass him. John Dean, Reuben Heaton. You had to register him by 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he'd gone for breakfast. He knew the match started at 11. But I think that probably the most famous one was Tim Paisley and Simon Crowe, who at the time Paisley was effectively my boss and Crowe was my best mate.
Yeah.
You know, I was his best man, he was my best man. And Crowe was wading over at Horseshoe, 2000 finals. And I've seen it, gone charging round there, asked him what he was doing, he went, I'm baiting up. Of course, Crowe being Crowe, he hadn't read the rules.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm going to have to yellow card you. And Tim was laughing, he'd got his chat the box out, he was laughing and going, oh, you're in trouble now. Oh. And I went, well, you're included in it as well, because it's a pairs match.
You've been a sponsor consultant, angling consultant, since the early 90s. Is there any way in particular it's changed over that time? I'm sure it has, but what sort of things in particular?
Yeah, I think there's loads. I think it's probably better now than it's been previously, because there's a little bit more honesty or a little less requirement to punt products that you don't necessarily believe in. Not that I've ever done that, because I always think that if you like it, then sing about it, and if you don't, then keep your trap shut.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there used to be people that every other minute they'd be plugging something that was either a complete pile of crap, or alternatively they'd be jumping between different sponsors because somebody had offered them 50 quid a bait extra. Nobody's stupid. I think if you underestimate your customer, then you've had it.
Yeah.
And the readers of the magazine know the truth. I think this is one of the reasons why the Below the Surface series has been so popular, because it is absolutely honest, and it's always the best way to be. If something's crap, it's crap. If something's good, it's good. And over the course of years, you know who the people are that will sell their soul for for a couple of extra bits and bobs, and as a result, their word means nothing, so their value means nothing. I pride myself that I've always been very truthful about stuff anyway, because there's no point not being.
Yeah.
Going back to when me and Crowe used to do the day ticket series, there was loads of times where they said, oh, I'll come down, we'll let you fish at night, or we'll rope a peg off and bait it up for you. It's pointless, absolutely pointless, because what we're doing is we're trying to say to the lads that are reading the magazine that this is the sort of thing they can expect when they go fishing summer, and we were weekend anglers then.
Yeah.
So, if you're honest to yourself and everybody else, it just gives a much better product, even if we haven't gone out and caught the biggest fish or the most fish or whatever.
Yeah.
You're honest, and I think over a period of time that shines through.
So what's your role in the Angling Trust now, and what's being done to get more people into fishing?
Going back a while ago, I was actually employed by them. I'm not employed by them now, although I do work on a bit of a consultancy basis. All I do is fish, talk about fishing, promote fishing, and this is across lots of different disciplines. I'm a carp angler, mate, no mistake, but I look at all sorts of other bits and bobs. So I can be a bit of a a link in between the national governing body and angling. And there's quite a lot being done to get people into it at the moment. You know, if you look at the sport as a whole, there's two different ways that we can either grow or get smaller. The first one is that we can lose people that are already fishing. We're going to go straight on it. And if we lose people that are already fishing, then the sport will shrink. So we need to keep people going, and that is just encouraging them to go. You know, like anything, if you're into the sport, if you're doing it, the chances are you'll carry on doing it.
Yeah.
As soon as you stop, there's a chance you'll fall off. So that's number one. Number two is a great initiative to begin with, is that the junior rod licence is now free. So there's a lot more kids coming into the sport than there were previously.
Yeah.
There's get back into angling campaigns, there's get out there, get fishing campaigns. There's quite a lot of campaigns that try and promote how to get into fishing, and there's a reasonable amount of money being invested by the Environment Agency in particular, but also some by Sport England, to encourage people to either take up the sport or continue doing the sport.
So with all this work trying to get more people involved in fishing, you've got to try and exploit as many outlets as possible, I suppose. And you've more recently started doing work with BT Sport, which is a pretty big gig. What exactly does that all entail? What are you doing on it?
Well, we've got a weekly television show, so an hour a week of TV that's going out there, which is good. It covers all disciplines, and it's split into two different things really. One of them is event coverage, so things like the World Carp Classic, World Predator Classic, Match This, Golden Reel, you know, float fishing, match fishing, course fishing, predator fishing, all sorts of disciplines. The idea behind the competitive side of things is that BT Sport's a sport channel first and foremost, so you know, if we're showing competitive sport, then it's brilliant. And you know, if you look at fishing as a sport, people think, oh, it's a bit boring. It isn't. Those that compete will know it isn't. There's a lot of people do it, and actually the prize money is now getting pretty big. Like you know, Match This now, £70,000. That is a massive amount of money. Can you imagine winning £70,000 in one competition? So, you know, what it does is it puts fishing up there with all the other sports. And when I first started working with Sport England and the Trust, one of the things that I said is that we want to be exactly where all of the other people are. So if there's a big sport there, we need to be there. Because if we're not in the same room as the other big sports, we won't be treated like the other big sports. So that was my drive: get in the same room as the FA, get in the same room as the RFU, get in the same room as the ECU. All of these big sporting bodies, fishing was there as well with them. And being on BT Sport with big sporting events with big prize money puts us on that radar as well. And the other angle of it is that my TV series is called On the Bank. We cover all sorts of disciplines as well in that. Have a bit of go at fluff chucking, which normally ends up with a bit of wool up a tree somewhere. Try and catch some predators, do a bit of carp fishing. And there's a number of ideas behind that. Firstly is to try and educate people about fishing. Secondly, to educate disciplines of angling about other disciplines of angling. And there was one show in particular where we put carp fishing on the same show as salmon fishing. And like, they would normally not be in the same bed together, would they? Salmon anglers turned around after they'd seen the carp angling show and said, we can't believe how much attention to detail goes into the way that you carp fish. We thought you just stuck a tent up and cracked a beer. And there was quite a few carp anglers that turned around and went, we thought it was just for snobs. Actually, it looks really cool. Don't they fight hard? I'd love to catch one. So if we can try and unite ourselves within the disciplines already, that will help galvanise the sport. And if you've got a strong sport, you move forwards with it.
Be a simple kind of man.
Go on, give it some, Joe. Give it some.
You love and understand. Baby, be a simple kind of man.
So going back to your filming as well, what's your biggest cock up basically? Which probably didn't make the final cut.
Both of them involving competition, because we have every 6-part series. Me and 40 have an on the bank pound challenge. I've been known to be quite careful around the pound note as well myself. So as a result, I don't like really giving them away. So we have a competition for a pound every 6 parts. And the first one was float v fly. So 40 was on a fly and I was on a float fishing for grayling, and I was absolutely smashing them out the park, and felt like it was going to look a bit silly because I was beating him by too many. So I took my foot off the gas and we went to have a look at some flowers and some cows and some sunsets and all of that. Anyway, long and short of it, we ended up drawing.
Yeah.
And in extra time he beat me by 1 fish. I suppose the biggest actual cock-up, that was just a lesson, the biggest cock-up was in the recent series where we had another competition where we were on the float. And this was an out-and-out pole competition. My previous all-time match weight was £3.12, best one, Canal Angling, 1987, Austria Youth Angling Club. Heady days of match fishing. And I'd got Mark Pollard behind me, he'd got Dave Ship behind him. And we're down at Viaduct, and he weighed in £50, 2 ounces I think it was. And I weighed in £99, 12 ounces, which was just shy of the £100. But I put a perch and a bream into my carp nets, and there's a rule in match fishing that you're not allowed to put silverfish in the carp.
Yeah.
And I got 2 nets disqualified, and he beat me.
So thank you very much for joining me today. That was a rather long trip to get a pint of maggots. I'm now dropping you off to get your car from the MOT centre. So it's been a good morning.
Very worthy.
Thank you very much for joining me. We've had a good fun, and I hope you've all enjoyed it as well. Found out a bit more about the life of Rob and everything that goes on. Very busy is what I've gathered from it, and a very passionate Lynyrd Skynyrd fan and Oasis, which is a good choice if you ask me. We are nearly there, so cheers for watching. Please like the video if you did, and leave some comments below on who you'd like to see in future Carpology Carpools. That's it from us. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
I'll see you again sometime.
Toodaloo.
See you guys.